Samsung have just announced 3 new phones into their mid-range category A series. So now we have the A26 5G, the A36 5G, and the A56 5G. And for mid-range phones, these actually have some really nice specs, and of course there's some added AI in there as well. And you might notice through this video there is a lack of the A26 because at the briefing that I went to in London I didn't get my hands on the A26 5G. However, the A series, A26 5G, 36 5G and 56 5G all look very similar, so trying to tell them apart is actually quite difficult. Now you'll be able to pick up the A26 5G starting on March 26th, and then the A36 5G starting just a couple of days later on March 28th. And if you're wanting to pick up the A56 5G, then you're just going to have to wait because Samsung has said that they are bringing this a little later on in the year, and it looks like it's probably going to be coming in Q3. Now, each of these phones is not the biggest upgrade over the last generation, but it does give you some decent specs for the price range. The A26 5G will start at $299, which is pretty nice. Then the 36 5G will be $399, and then the A56 5G, when we eventually see it, is going to be at $499. And each of these all come with 256 gigs of storage as well, which is really nice to see. And these phones really are similar. So the trade-off between getting one over the other is the processor, and there is a slight camera difference, but everything else is actually really similar. So let me give you a quick rundown of what you get. Now, whichever of these phones you pick up, you're actually going to get the same 6.7-inch Super AMOLED Full HD Plus display. And with my short time with it, these displays actually looked pretty good. And each of these displays will also go up to 120 Hz. And to get 120 Hz on a $299 phone, I think is great. I did notice though that the bezels on this are huge, and you can just have a look at the bezels at the bottom here on the chin of the phone, and they are pretty big, and you can let it go because it's a mid-range phone, but this is still a lot of bezel for the money. Now, in terms of battery, you're going to get some good battery here because each of these phones is going to get a 5000 milliamp hour battery, which is exactly the same as the S25 Ultra. And if you pick up the A36 or A56 5G, you're even going to get charging which is quicker than the S25s because you're going to get 45 watt charging in a budget mid-range phone that beats Samsung's bigger, more flagship phones, which I think is just it's a little bit crazy. So that means with a 30-minute charge, you're actually going to get up to 65% battery on the A36 and A56 5G, which if you need a quick top up is really nice. And each of these phones come with an IP67 rating, so even if you pick up the $299 A26 5G, it's going to get the same water and dust resistance as the more expensive versions. And I think this is really nice that Samsung is putting this in the entire A series lineup. Now, I mentioned before that all these phones are powered by something a little bit different. The A26 is powered by the Exynos 1380, then the A36 5G is powered by the Snapdragon 6 Gen 3, and then the A56 5G is powered by the Exynos 1580. And these will all power the awesome intelligence, which is what Samsung is calling the AI in these A series phones. So you get things like circle to search and object eraser, which has also been updated, and filters, which you can custom make depending on the style of photo that you want to create. And the A56 5G can also use best face, which has been taken from the S25s. The A56 5G also gets something a little bit added with its awesome intelligence that is not on the other A series phones, and that is auto trim, which has been taken from the S25s. And what auto trim does is that it will look at the video, use AI to find those highlights, and automatically cut and trim that video for you without you having to do any sort of editing yourself, which I think is really nice, adding that into an A series phone. Samsung will also release One UI 7 with all of these A series phones, which is nice because it gives it a really nice refresh, and it does make it feel very similar to the S25s, and you'll get things like Now Bar as well. But what I think is interesting is that these A series phones will get One UI 7 before the likes of the S24s. Now, cameras across all these phones are actually really similar, so they all have the same 50 megapixel f1.8 main lens. The ultra-wide is 12 megapixels on the A56 5G, and then 8 megapixels on the A26 and 36 5G. And then you get a macro option, which is 5 megapixels on the A36 and 56 5G, but a very low, disappointing 2 megapixels on the A26 5G. If you go with the A56 5G, you do get a little added bonus, and you get enhanced nightography with that phone. And essentially what this means is that it just allows more light into the image. So when you take photos in low light situations, they shouldn't look as grainy or as noisy as they have done in the past. So getting those low light shots will now just be a little bit better. Now, sadly, I can't actually show you any photo samples from the A series phones because I didn't have time to do that at the briefing, and I actually don't have one of the devices on hand to go out and about and take photos, but it's something that we definitely need to have a look at once we get hold of one of these phones. So they are the three new A series phones from Samsung: the A26 5G, the A36 5G, and the A56 5G. And I think for the price, these kind of give you exactly what you expect at that price range, but a 120Hz display, a 5000 mAh battery, and even faster charging than the S25s on the A36 and 56 5G. So there's quite a lot to like about these phones. Let me know your thoughts on Samsung's new Galaxy A series in the comments below, and if you do that, I will see you in the next video.